So in November of 2024, Deacon Kathy sent an email outlining the dates when she, Deacon Rose, Deacon Madeline, and myself would each be giving our homilies for the upcoming year. And to my surprise, and I'll admit my relief, I was scheduled at the end of August, which at that time was 9 months away. 9 whole months to read the text, study the meaning, and come up with something truly profound, something that would inspire you and make you think. I had plenty of time. But the funny thing about time is it doesn't wait. It keeps moving forward. And between my time spent at work, spent in my car, running errands, watching Jeopardy, even sleeping, I started to see all that time I once had shrinking, and my homily date only creeping closer and closer. So I sat down to write. I read and reread today's readings, and I thought, okay, what can I say that will be impressive? What can I say that will inspire? How can I make you walk away thinking, wow, Deacon Craig, he gave a great homily? And with those questions and that mindset, guess what I came up with? Nothing. You got it, yes, nothing. Not a single connection to the material or even a decent starting point. I had no inspiration on how to interpret these readings in a way that would make them relatable while also ensuring the homily I gave would be deemed great. So I stepped away while time kept ticking and my homily date was still fast approaching. I became frustrated with myself. I mean, writing a homily should not be this hard, should it? Frustrated, I remember something Bishop Jim had told us during our diaconate training, and that was when he reads the scriptures for preaching, he simply asks, so what? At that point, nothing else was working, so I thought, why not? Let's ask it. So what? And after asking, so what, a thought came to my mind to grab a Bible. But not just any Bible, but the Bible I was given when being confirmed as a deacon. It was brown, it had gold-edged paper, and it was in my garage. Still packed in a box from when I moved over a year ago. Trust me, I was going to unpack it once I had time. But God's time intervened. Probably because he knew without his nudge that I'd wait, but also he heard me ask, so what? I got the Bible. I opened it to the first page, and inside the front cover, I found this note. Craig, receive the Holy Scriptures. Believe what you read, teach what you believe, and practice what you teach. Wow. In that moment, my determination to be impressive, to be insightful, to be inspirational, quickly dissipated. In that moment, I was reminded that all I need to be, all I needed to do was to receive, believe, teach, and practice. What a relief that was. What a relief that is. When I returned to Luke's gospel with that heart, with that mindset, I realized that my behavior prior was no different from the guests described in our gospel reading, vying for the best seat at the table. Only my best seat was at the table of your approval. Luke tells us Jesus was invited to a meal at the home of a Pharisee, a high-status dinner. And people were scrambling for the best spots, the ones closest to the host, where the conversation was important and the prestige was visible. And Jesus flips it all. When you are invited, go and sit at the lowest place, so that your host may say, "Friend, move up higher." And Jesus is not teaching us manners and table etiquette. He's giving us an insight into God. In God's eyes, our worth isn't measured by where you sit, who you know, or even how polished your homily is. The real blessing is when we forgo those things, forgo ourselves in order to make space for others. In focusing so much on myself and my homily, I was neglecting you. I was sitting at my own lonely table, waiting to be served with your praise. But when I let go of that table, let go of that seat I created for myself, and set aside my pride, I found room for something far more greater: humility. And that humility opened my heart in a way that aligned it closer with Christ, who, as we all know, came not to be served, but to serve. My worth, our worth, doesn't come from the seat we take or create. It comes from the one who invited us in, God. In God's kingdom, the invitation has already been extended. You don't have to scramble, prove yourself, or fight for the best position. You don't even need to bring anything except your willingness to show up with love and humility. And when you do, something remarkable happens. You look around and realize there's room for everyone: the broken, the overlooked, the ones who've been told they're not enough. There's room for me, and there's room for you. That's the kingdom Jesus describes. And that's the table we're all called to invite others to. So this week, here's my challenge that I hope can be our challenge. Stop worrying about the best seat. Stop creating your own chair at the head of the table in which no one can join. Instead, let go and make space and be a bridge of love and connection to a stranger, to the one who thinks they don't belong, and be the one to say, you do. Because in the end, the greatest joy isn't the seat we claim or even created. The greatest joy will come in that moment when our Lord looks us in the eye and says, "Friend, come up higher."